11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year.
There we go.
It's never happened.
Okay, so Smokey's not going to show up today. So welcome to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific, for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. Let's see, we run it live on we do 3 gun-related topics each day, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. And every once in a while, we'll take the audio and post that as a podcast over on iTunes. So I encourage anybody that's listening to the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback on whatever platform it is you're listening to us on. Helps us know where you're listening and hopefully gets the show recommended to our listeners. What do you guys want to mute? Because we're getting some feedback there. So let's see. I think I said we run it live over on YouTube, Gun Channels, and we've got 4 hosts. 3 of us are in here today. So it must be Bob. So we got Bob coming in from Canada. Thanks for joining. And you're the echo, and you're not muted, so you're just not there. And then that means Dano jumping in from Illinois.
Yep, glad to be here.
All right, and then I'm down here in Arizona. So let's see. Today is episode number. What's over here? 386. Oh yeah. So we're going to be dealing with, it's Monday, so we're going to be dealing with the show. We talk about the show this week, and then we talk about social media, kind of behind the scenes. This week we'll talk about branding, and then we talk about the events that are coming up, and all the daily stuff. Sometimes we talk about a gun shop every day, movie of the day, gun of the day, all those kind of things. And then usually before we start the show, we'll take a break at the beginning, see if anything interesting happened overnight, or in this case, over the weekend. So
I didn't see anything, but anybody else?
Well, I worked on the 2 key dates, but we did have the big, depending on how much you're into boxing, sporting event happen on Saturday night, where McGregor couldn't go the distance.
Well, he went the distance. He went 10 rounds
and lost.
Yeah,
it's not a 10-round. It's not a 10-round match.
No, but he was going up against a professional boxer.
Understood.
Lost a fight in his career, and yeah, so I think he did pretty good considering he's an MMA fighter.
And if the roles would have been reversed,
it would have been over right away.
Sure he would have won, but he decided to step into the ring and lost. It just comes down to that. It doesn't matter how well he lost.
It kind of does. Anyway,
I saw a picture in the 3rd round of just the 2 fighters' feet, and Mayweather was up on his toes. McGregor was flat on his feet.
All right. So sports show, we're talking about that. So
some guys are interested in that. That's why I just thought I'd throw it out there.
So over the weekend, I was frustrated because I'm trying to wait for the date now. Already paid the deposit on the cards. Everything's basically done. I'm just waiting for the time when they're going to be on the printing press so that I can start the tour and know when I should be in Dallas. So in order to stop from going insane and spending a bunch of time and money just wasting time, I worked on another one of the websites that had fallen down. So Jimmy and Heavy and Angry have all been working with me to put a bunch of the websites back up. And guncalendars.com is one that is one of my favorite ones. I like to have names that are easy to remember and cool. So guncalendars.com is easy to remember. So I like to have cool websites there. And this one isn't visually as wonderful as I would like to do, but I only have a certain amount of time. I spent a couple of days on this one. But the data in it is hopefully useful for everybody. So for this show, one of the reasons I wanted to build it is for this show, so that when we do things like the gun history and whatever, I'm not fumbling around looking all over the internet for gun history when I've already done that over the years, and I basically consolidated it all here. So in order to make it as useful as possible, when you go to the main page, you've got basically all the different menus that can take you down, filter you down to specific things. If you want to go to a specific date, there is a little calendar area here. Oops, little calendar area here that you can, go to a specific date if there's something you're looking for that way. There's always a search at the top. You can search for any keyword or any date or anything. But like I say, if you just want to go in and search for a gun-related thing, an invention, any kind of military holiday or event, and even filtered down to like world, the various wars and the various branches and things. So lots of stuff over there, and encourage you to check it out if you're running something like the Daily Gun Show, or what am I saying, the Early Watch. One of the other reasons I wanted to build it is for when Jimmy or Sean doing Good Morning Gun Channels is looking for things to talk about. This is a place they can go check. You just scroll down past the group there at the top, and like yesterday, the 26th was Saturday was National PTSD Day. Now, if I would have had my shit together last week, then we would have known to talk about this on our show on Friday. But they have days like this set aside so that we raise public awareness, and using these social media platforms, that's what we're talking about on Monday, using these social media platforms can have dual purpose. We can, in our off time, hone our skills, practice, get better at it, learn the techniques. And if we're going to be practicing and learning, why not do it with something important like post-traumatic stress disorder? So if we got vets out there that we want to raise awareness, then here's a way that we can help do that. Talk about it on the day that's set aside to raise awareness. So hopefully this website is a tool to help people do that. And if you're not creating content, maybe it's just something you can check once in a while. As you see, most of our sites don't have ads for anything other than whatever projects we're working on. Of course, we're going to promote our own stuff. And then the Second Amendment organizations that we feel are doing good work, like the ones that brought concealed carry to Illinois and others. So, and then of course, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll always get a link to gun channels. And then we have a website called Ask Gun Questions where people can ask questions, and Jimmy will answer them on the Early Watch show. So that's what I did over the weekend as I was, like I say, waiting for the printing date of the cards so that I can get in the van and start the tour.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, well, I'm not seeing anything else about what happened over the weekend. So, Dan, are you going to talk about that news now, or you want to wait till the end of the week, or what are you going to do?
I started talking. I didn't realize my microphone wasn't on. This is going to be my last week on the Daily Gun Show, and Thursday will be my last show. It's been just short of a year, so it's been a long term coming, but hopefully the show will continue to go onwards and upwards, and I certainly wish you guys the best.
Right on. So we need a new Dano. Somebody's looking for a job. And what's that? So
think of it more as a volunteer position.
Yeah, that's right, Bob. We're all volunteering. Nobody's getting paid. All right, so it's 386, and episode 386. It's a Monday, so we start out by talking about the week. Today we're going to talk about branding. We're going to talk about the events. We already talked about that. So tomorrow is Second Amendment issues, and we don't have a topic in there. Then we'll be talking. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Yeah, then we have our wild card segment on Tuesdays, and then State of the State. This will be Dano's last State of the State. We're going to do Utah, and then we've got a gun shop in there, it looks like. Wednesday is our entertainment day, so we'll be talking toys. Let's see, toy guns, water guns, paint gun, lasers, and darts. So different kinds of toy guns. Then we have a good idea, bad idea segment, answering the door while open carrying. Okay. And then we do our hashtag Daily Gun Show showdown. So we get together and look at all the people that have been using the Instagrams with the hashtag Daily Gun Show. Last week there were 809 of them. So however many people have added to that since number 809, we'll take that group, we'll judge them, and we will vote on the best picture on Instagram. Let's see, then on Thursday, oh, and guess what? Well, there's some good things happening this week. There's the bad things happening this week, and there's good things happening this week. So it'll balance out. It'll be a medium week. CCW is on Thursday. The importance of physical training for CCW. Then for gun stuff, the gimmick known as full conceal pistols. I don't know what that is. And then for training, we have training with the drop leg holster. Friday, we get into the tech and we solve the industry's issues. So for the gun tech, we're going to be talking about the modifications to a Glock. So Dan was probably wishing he would have stayed on for one more day. Then we got for the gun business, what are the various FFLs? I think we've talked about that before, but it's usually interesting. And then for the alternative gun topics, precious metals for gun guys. Okay, so that'll be the week. I don't know if there's anything to talk about with that.
No, I think we're pretty good. Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Talk about that. Looks like we're seeing a lot of goodbyes to Dano, a lot of surprises out there. Yeah, with that kind of paycheck, but hey.
Yeah, to give up the money is unimaginable.
Sometimes it's not just about collecting it, right, and accumulating it. You got to go out and spread it out and use it. Otherwise, there's no point in collecting so much of it.
I'm gonna have to go back to the low price. Oh, never mind.
So with that, I guess we'll move into, what the hell is this? Oh, what, you move that one? I don't know, something keeps happening to our thing over here. So nobody came up with what the hell's going on with the echo now? Nobody.
Yeah, I saw the break one thing, and I thought somebody was doing something different. I didn't know what happened there.
I think it just got moved. So last week was a theme, and the answer, or what was in common with the people that were in there, where they were all people that had high ranking over on the questions and answers area of gun channels. So one of the features of gun channels, one of the kind of whatever feature, I guess it's a feature of the software, is a specific area for questions and answers. And it's an elaborate one so that you can ask a question, but then many people can answer. I guess I could screen share. Many people can answer, and then beyond just answering a question, you can other people can come along and then rate the answers. So I got to find one that's got a bunch of answers, and maybe it'll have some rankings in there. So people will go ahead and like say, oh, okay, that's a great answer, give it a thumbs up, and then you accumulate status, like what is it called, a number, and then like people can then determine how valid your answer might be, I guess. And then the person who asked the question also gets to pick the best answer, and all those get points, and then those points get accumulated. And that's wherever I was before, was the list of all the people. So Dead Horse is at the top of that list, followed by Priest, and then others. And I think I started somewhere in here, and that was our list from last week, the people that were kind of at the top of the list of, and I think the week before it was these people. So anyway, every once in a while we try to pick a theme for the member of the day. Every day we try to feature a member over at Gun Channels to keep people aware that Gun Channels is a place we built. It's completely driven by its members. All kinds of interesting stuff happening over there. We try to make it a creative place. What do we call it? I like that term, incubator, for people that are trying to create stuff. Again, so that we're honing our skills, and people that like to watch people who are creating their own content. So it's a place for both. And we learned recently about that VidMe. Everybody's having a good time exploring that. So it's a place that lets us all, work together or network so that we can all figure out what the best way is to go forward. And with that, I guess we'll move into how to use social media and then branding. I don't know if Clover Tack's out there. He's obviously an expert on that. If he wants to jump in, he's more than welcome to have a link here. Otherwise, you guys have been around the block a few times. You could act like you don't pay attention, but do you have any, what's your guys's, what comes to mind when you think about branding on the internet? No, they're just going to sit there on mute.
No, okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. Like, I really don't know anything about it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, branding is my channel name. It's like,
Come on.
It's twofold. In my mind, it's twofold. It's one is when people hear the name of your channel, what do they think of? That's number one. And second fold is getting your name out there. So as an example, using as many free social media platforms to literally use as a marketing tool to get the message out there, that not only, using my channel name just as an example, just Dano, out there, but then getting, what does that mean? So when they think of that, they know, oh, that may mean self-defense training, or it may mean youth sports in the shooting sports, or it may mean something else. Is using those free platforms as marketing tools to drive them towards the sources, which is where your meat and potatoes are at. So in my mind, that's it in a nutshell.
I agree. I think as capitalists, as consumers in a capitalist society, though, we're all aware of branding. I mean, we freaking swim in it constantly. I know Canada is the same as us as far as that kind of stuff goes. So we know what's successful. I mean, we might be oblivious to the most successful of it, I guess, or the most devious of it. But in general, what Dano just said, I think it's not much. We're all trying to do that, whether.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
you're flying right now with that, with your daughter's logo.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I guess, yeah, like I always notice the branding in movies now, where when he'll put his drink down, they always make sure that the label is turned so you can see it's a Coke or a Pepsi or Budweiser or whatever, right? Like, I guess
I'm fine with that, because that pays for a chunk of the movie, right? I'm okay with that.
No, I don't mind either. I just notice it.
Cool movie, and I see like Dr. Pepper in there, that I'm like, right on. Dr. Pepper's cool. They're making cool movies.
If the cost of the movie was $1 less, I might more appreciate it.
Well, no, but at least they're making the movies. I mean, sometimes I'm sure it's not that they're trying to pass savings on. They're trying to get the movies made at this point, I figure. But think about it, if you're a content creator and you can add a mat or a t-shirt, right? You just wear a hat or something and do a video about something else, but somebody's happy to get some product placement. That's what Bob's talking about, right? And, we can do it on a small scale, and that can help a channel out a lot. So, hey, thanks, Clover Tech, for jumping in.
You bet.
So, branding. He's from Texas, so not cow branding.
Right. Well, I think branding's important. It's important for a small business in the same sense that it's important. YouTube should be, as a creator, should be treated as a business, even if you're not in it for the money. I mean, if you want to see the growth of your channel, it's the same thing. And one thing with branding, or that branding does, that effective branding does, is it makes you look bigger than you actually are. When you get out there on the multiple platforms, especially when you take advantage of VidMe, which right now doesn't seem like there's a lot of firearm content there, with the exception of all of us from gun channels jumping on there. And then also we talked about the other night, we talked about the site Trending, and that's Trending with an I, not an E. But that site also is really light on firearm content. So it's a great way for promotion and to get your name out there and that sort of stuff. So, it makes a big deal how much you're out there and how professional everything looks and it's put together with your logos, how consistent everything is across all of those platforms you advertise on. And that gives a perception, because somebody may not be, somebody that's not into firearms like we are, they may be looking at stuff and they may, they run across, let's say Hickok, and then they run across your channel. And they're not necessarily looking at the numbers, and they don't know who Hickok is. You know, they don't know Hickok from you. They may choose to watch you over Hickok simply because of, you know, your branding and the way your logos are and your banners and things like that. It just draws them in more than he does. So, yeah, I think there's something to be said for effective branding. Did I put everybody to sleep?
No, I was just thinking, I wasn't sure whether to raise this point because it's related to what you're talking about, but it's slightly off topic. But there's also, you know, like any content provider, you can go short format, you can go long format. You can go single topic, you can go multi-topic, you can go 3 significant topics would be on the bone, and then a couple of regular mini topics that are daily, like we do here on the Daily Gun Show. There's so many different ways to put a show together, or to put a channel together.
And I like the idea of mixing it up, because you've got folks, they're not going to watch anything over a certain time. They're looking at that timestamp, and
right.
You know, and they've got a certain number in their mind, and the average on YouTube is about 7 to 16, I want to say, minutes post VidCon. That seems to be the consensus. So, but per viewer, they've got a number in mind, and that number may be 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And if it's over that, they're not even going to click on it. So, you know, having some content up that's 3 minutes, 4 minutes long, something like that, is always a good idea. And then you always run the chance that if you can ever hook them with that 2 or 3 minute or 4 minute video and get their interest and gain their trust, and they like what you have to say, then converting them over, that's a conversion rate where you then can convert them over, and they may listen to an hour-long show, you know, at some point.
And one thing that you've done, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, it's not something that everybody can do, because it depends on what you have to bring to the table, is you spread a much wider net by going, your Wednesday show is one formula, your after hour show is a different formula, and then I forget the name of the third show of the week, but that's again another different formula. As far as one is by yourself, one is with a group of guys, and then one is with and again in a different style or format.
Well, it's more different topic. I mean, it's all firearm related, but but
the way you structure it is different.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I mean, you have the one-man show is one of your shows.
Well, Friday is supposed to be that way.
Right.
But since coming to Gun Channels, I have taken on guests. Now, Jen and I talked about this last week, that I'm going to start moving into a format on the Friday show back to my original format, since I have the 2 others. That, you know, I may bring one person in, but I'm going to start scaling that back to where it's a more personal conversation between me and the viewers, and me and those in the chat, because we have the Wednesday and the Thursday shows already. So
right.
Yeah,
but that's an example of spreading your net wider. You're more likely to catch more fish.
Yeah, you want to keep it different. I mean, the same show 3 nights in a row would be boring. You know, it's like watching like TV Land does that, or they used to, you know, on the television, on cable, where it would be the same block of like 4 30-minute shows each week, and they just rotated them, you know? Yeah, I mean, after you watch it once, I mean, who wants to watch it for 3 nights in a row, right?
Yep.
All right, we're being real live centric here. So, you know, branding in general, though, we all kind of talked about it, and we all know what it is. But consistency, I think, is one way to wrap it up or summarize it. And when we're talking live, you know, all that applies. You guys are correct. But there's a lot of content that people create, which is that evergreen stuff that you're building as a reference or as a resource that you intend to accumulate, and having some branding to give that some consistency, so that when people are comfortable with what you're offering, they can see from your thumbnail or from a preview or something, oh, this is, over time things might change, like the place you do your videos or the backdrop or something, or you do something on location so it looks a little different. But that branding lets them know, okay, that's this guy, and he's going to give me 5 or 6 minutes of his insight on this gun or whatever it is he's talking about. And so for the finding them in the recommended videos, that's strategy too.
Yeah, and I mean, you get intimidated a lot of times as a small creator. You tend to get intimidated sometimes about the big ones because they're being given the brand new firearm that just came out on the market yesterday, and then the day after it releases, they've got one and they're doing a review. So, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you buy one because, you're not lucky enough for them to send you one. And, you're hesitant about doing a review on that or talking about it or, showing how to build strip it or whatever, because you say, well, all of these big channels have already covered all of that. Well, the thing is, yeah, you're right, G. That's evergreen content. And as time goes on, even though you're making that 6 months, a year after the big guys, well, most of their videos have done lost steam at that point. So you get a little preference because it's a fresh upload. And that's something that if you bought that firearm a year later, there's other people buying that firearm as well. And they're jumping online wanting to know how to build strip it or, clean it or wanting to know something about it just like you were. And that's how come you made the video about it. So there's still an audience out there, even, months and years later.
Exactly. And long time later. I mean, I can be a testament to what I've been up there putting videos up since 2009. So 7 years later, there are people watching videos I posted 7 years ago, and that's still a nickel in the bucket or whatever, but it's also getting that branding out there. So those link to the websites and the websites link to whatever I'm doing currently. So you're creating something that's a hook, and instead of just being a hook on the end of your line, it's a hook with a bobber that you just set adrift almost, or so you're gonna be able to catch something on it, but you don't have to be aware of it anymore. But I just want to also, you said something about lucky enough to get the new guns. There's no luck involved. There's hardly anybody out there that fell into a massive YouTube channel. That was all people that were putting forth, good effort, and then were smart about it at various times when the winds were right, and they took flight from, hard work ahead of time, preparation. They say luck is perspiration, or 90% perspiration, and then whatever. So if you want to get to, or if you're looking at people that are getting free guns, quote unquote, which aren't always free. Sometimes they're free for 90 days. Sometimes they're all kinds of arrangements. Sometimes there's some kind of obligation to it that we're not aware of. So if you're looking forward to that level, though, it's totally obtainable, and it just takes some consistency again, putting forth videos all the time. Look at those channels that are getting the quote unquote free guns and look at the number of videos they post. So they didn't, luck into that. They just did that by dedication, keep doing it. So
I didn't mean that in a negative way at all.
I just want to take an opportunity to encourage people, like, just keep at it, because nobody just jumped in and got it. It's all just people who've been doing it, and then eventually it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But branding, so I want to go over to the gun channel side. We got Enrique Sonora out there, and he's pretty savvy about branding and stuff like that. So he's posted a few things in here. I wanted to relay some of them since we're on the topic. To me, this Monday portion is an important one. This apathy that we have as buyers, transmits over to our apathy as consumers and recreationalists, and people that just want to share your hobbies. When there's a lot less people getting into the hobby, there's a lot less people who are sharing their hobby. So with a lot less stuff out there, I think there's probably fewer people watching. And anyhow, so let's talk about branding. So Enrique says branding is not just the name or the visual. That's the wrong way to define it. Branding is all the experiences, results one has with the brand. Branding here at Gun Channels is more than a black and white logo. It's the open forum, volunteered run operation. It's how one experiences it that is the brand. goes on to say branding builds a relationship through service, visuals, the success of a product solution. These are not promises, but association. So I guess he's saying you're creating a relationship and your visuals are supposed to be like a window to what you're trying to get to, right? I guess that was it. There's a bunch of other stuff there, so I'm going to read what some of these other people were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. Branding is when you say branding, you made a joke about Texas and the cattle branding, putting your stamp on something, and
that's what it is.
Oftentimes people view branding, when you say branding, they simply are thinking of a logo, and there's a lot more to it. It has to do with your mission. It has to do with your beliefs in what you're doing. It has to do with the presentation of your content. It has to do with, the value that you bring to the table. That's all wrapped up into it's a package deal, I guess is what I'm saying. I agree with Enrique in that branding is a package deal.
All right, and the YouTube side, it looks like they're just talking about buying guns and stuff. So, okay, so we'll wrap it up with cycle camps here. Let's see, good call. Branding should both precede and underlie any marketing effort. Branding is not a push, but a pull. Branding is the expression of the essential truth or value of an organization, product, or service. It is a communication of characteristics, values, and attributes that clarify what this particular brand is and is not. That's a good way to sum it up. So again, we try to talk about this stuff on Mondays. Like I say, I think this is an important part of the show. If you've got ideas for this section of the show, email us, dailygunshow@gmail.com, and we'll continue to try to encourage and inspire people to do their own content creation and then collaborate and network on how to do it. I've been having a lot of fun learning some tricks from Too Hottie over on Gun Channels. He's been showing me some tricks for 3D stuff in Photoshop, and at the same time we've been playing with this animation little program thingy that's pretty fun. In fact, here I'm going to take a second and find my little video and show you guys. This will be my last week on the Daily Gun Show also, but for a different reason. It's because I am going to probably go work for Pixar.
Hello there.
Maybe Disney. So am I still screen sharing? No.
You're not screen sharing at all.
All right, I'm screen sharing now. So if you want, you might want to go get a soda pop or a thing of popcorn or something. And without any further ado, here's the movie.
Hello there. I think I'm so good I am going to pet this dog. Nope, you better not. Nope, I'm going to do what I want and pet you. Grr. Ow. Hashtag satisfaction.
So, that happened.
Was that hashtag satisfaction?
I put that in there for the millennials to get some millennial coverage, footage. So I figured out I've mastered what used to be called Flash, and now this new one is puppets. I forget what they call them, but basically little puppets. So it's really, really cool. And
Flash is still not in?
Flash is gone. It's now called Animate. So Flash is last year that they don't even call it Flash anymore. And this is a whole nother thing that is crazy. We'll have to do a whole show on it. Like I say, I'm really liking this. I'm trying to figure out some stuff, to make the Gun Show Loophole Tour stuff both easy to build and fun to watch and brand it, right? So the little dog cartoon there is going to be our little spokes dog, and he's going to say stuff, and that way it seems pretty easy to make, and hopefully will be something unique and interesting to be on the screen with the pictures of the gun shops, which is really what it's all about.
Although the dog needs a slightly different voice, which would be entertaining in its own right because we know who's doing the voice. Well,
we'll see what happens. So again, if you have ideas for that and you want to participate in that, we'd be super happy if more people then, if there's more suggestions and people that want to get involved, then we have time for on Mondays, because Clover Tech and I have talked a couple of times already. Others have talked about getting together and doing workshops, just chats where we get together, probably live, just so that it all gets recorded. But get in there and play with some of the software, talk about our skills and what we got time for to help each other out, what people need, and try to get some intros made for people, and people that need logos made, people that got time to do other stuff, help them out, return, that kind of thing, so that we all get better at what we're doing, and keep it interesting for people, so that there's also more neat stuff being made. All right, so with that, we'll move along to, I guess we should go to the events. You guys want to do something else first?
Let's see. Or we could have, wait, what is it? How does that go? Look out, it's time for the Tactical Pop Quiz. That's right, boys and girls, it's that time of the show. You've been waiting long and hard, and it has finally arrived. And this one is thanks to CycleCamp, so thank you for sending it in, your question and answer. Appreciate it greatly. G-Webs, are you able to assist today?
I was reading all the excellent. I was reading all the encouraging comments on my animation, but I guess I can get torn away from them. What's the answer?
Oh, okay. Well, it's in the show notes.
All right.
That little thing we use to try to coordinate what we're doing.
I usually don't have to go down to that end of it, but yeah, I'm there.
All right, well, today is your turn on the wine press. So I'll read the question. I shall read it twice. If you have any questions on the answer, see Bob. All right, are you ready? G-Webs?
Yeah.
Okay. Question is as follows. In World War I, Harley Davidson and Indian motorcycles with sidecars mounted machine guns were placed in units called what? In World War I, Harley Davidson and Indian motorcycles with sidecar mounted machine guns were placed in units called what?
Hooligans.
Motorized cavalry is no. Motor can no.
In CycleCamp, you should. If I could give you a point, I'd give you a point.
That would be chaos.
Motor machine gun service. No.
No answers. Is this even a thing? Is this like
I'm thinking that, the depth of knowledge, which is impossible to imagine, is not as deep as I had thought it was. Is that possible?
I never heard of it before. Is this a Googleable thing?
Yeah. If you do research, it is a real thing.
Okay. I mean, I don't go around researching World War I, so there could be a million things about World War I.
Different people have different passions.
Motorcycle Marines was not it.
Not everybody's into little tiny NAA guns. I mean, but some people are.
Not everybody's in that bubble.
Yeah.
Motor Mobile Infantry is what Pink said.
Motor Mobile Infantry. That's what they were called.
Yep. So Pink Panthers won it way after the countdown. So
Pink Panther.
Well, hold on, Bob. Let me do my part. Then you do your part. That's the way we've always done it.
I was going to say you should do it today or this week because it's your last week.
Well, no, I'll let you do the final part, but just let me do my little tidbit. So congratulations, Pink Panther.
Go ahead.
The Tactical Pop Quiz winner of the day with Motor Mobile Infantry. That was the answer for the motorcycles that were made by Harley Davidson in India, Indian motorcycles with sidecar mounted machine guns in World War I. So congratulations, Pink Panther. Over to you, Bob.
Okay, Dano. So, Pink Panther, that makes you the Daily Tactical Hot Shot of the Day. There you go.
A fairly good job, Bob. Fairly good.
Most of the ones are there, at least. All right, so that takes us on to, we didn't know what we were going to do next. So,
which is why I jumped in.
I think we're going to do this pawn shop from Tony. This is from Artisan Tony. I don't have a link or nothing. So I'm going to have to screen share it, I guess. We didn't do this one yet, did we?
You should screen share it, G-Webs.
I am. So looks like it's a trailer and gun shop and pawn shop. And Artisan Tony put this in here, I think on last Friday or something, or one day. So we put it in. And I don't think he sent us any pictures. He might have done something on Instagram about it.
Oh, I think he has a video on his channel.
Okay. So looks like they got a lot of Huck style knives in there. And a bunch of guns. All right, that was his pictures. Can't tell quite how big it is, but looks like it's got a lot of stuff in it. That says it's locally owned, serving the greater Chattanooga area. Oh, that's why it's called Choo Choo. Well, now I get it. A lot of stuff in Chattanooga has the word choo choo in it because they have a train there. All right, well, that's it. I don't think there's any other pages to this website, so there's not a lot to it, but it's like a pawn shop with a gun shop in it. And, oh, they got a Facebook. Let's see what's going on. No, I guess they don't have a Facebook. Oops. That's not it either. No.
Yeah, I don't think he's out there listening today. I was looking to see if he was going to comment.
Yeah, I kind of thought that looked kind of interesting. Trailer, pawn shop, gun shop.
Yeah, well, trailers, I guess, make money.
Oh, yeah.
Let's look at it.
Well, owning, or like renting them, not owning them. Owning them is like a boat. Big hole in the water. Except they're a big hole in the air. You throw money in them.
Guns and pawn. Right next to a cop shop.
Yeah. That looks like a cop shop that took over a local mall that went out of business.
Nah. Well, it could be actually. It could be like an old Target or something.
I mean, Walmarts originally were just a fraction of their current size.
Oh, shit, look, as soon as you go into their parking lot, it changes. Man, look at that. It keeps changing every time I go around.
They don't want you to see where the Sally port is.
I want to see if this van was for sale. This van.
That looks way too new for your budget.
All right, I don't know how you get into the pawn shop. I guess you got to go down the street by the sheriff, and then you're in there. Looks like it's right there. So it can't be very big. It must be a section of one of these two buildings. It could be that big whole building back there.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's our gun shop of the day. Looks like it's in Chattanooga. Let's see where that is. So there's north. We scroll up and out. Chattanooga's basically this. Huh? Yeah, but I mean, where it is, Chattanooga's sort of like on one side of this river.
Right.
And then looks like it's way up over here. See, most of Chattanooga's down here.
Oh, weird.
And then if you go across the river here to somewhere right over here is that Chickamauga battlefield or whatever.
Chickamauga.
If you go into this building right here, this whole half of this building is a giant gun collection. So this is one of the best gun museums in the country, really, for collections. It's a really nice collection from like the beginning, all the different actions and stuff from like the beginning of guns up till semi-auto almost, I think. So that gun shop isn't too far away from there. So thanks, Tony. That's one of our goals, is to do a different gun shop every day. And that will take us into the next segment of the show. We'll take a commercial break to talk about the Gun Show Loophole Tour. It's over on Indiegogo. So that's a campaign that has like a start and an end date. That's a campaign to get the patches made to take out on the tour. Those are funded. We've been kind of setting at $1,000 for a while now. So that means it is 100% funded and more, but it doesn't mean we're accumulating any money for gas. So there are some stretch goals, and those are, the legs of the tour. So basically, the $1,000 is to get the patches and get them sent out to people, and there'll be a couple of bucks left over, but not leg of the tour money. So the idea would be to move some of those patches that we're getting in on the perks there, and then fund some of the some more mileage to get to some of these other legs. So if you've already participated in it, we thank you for that. And we encourage you to share the project. It's got, it says a day left, so it'll end somewhere around now, tomorrow. So maybe during the show tomorrow, or maybe a little bit after. So in the last 24 hours or so, it usually gets more action than, people see that it's got just hours left. So again, here's the link, and please share the project. That's really how they get their traction out there. All right, with that, we can move out of the commercial break and into the meat again. What's next? Should we do the events, or do you guys want to do something else next? What do I ask? You guys never have any suggestions.
I always got to mute my mic because of feedback, so I can never get in there on a timely basis. But I'll leave it on and let the feedback roll. Now, before we leave the Choo Choo Gun and Pawn, if I remember correctly, you did have an opportunity to experience the Choo Choo Hotel. Is that correct?
Yeah, when Haas and I went around there in 2012, Tony put us up in that hotel for a night. So it's like the station, I imagine, in front is now a hotel, and with like places to eat and hang out. It's all fancy and old. And then like in the courtyard, probably. I don't really know. We weren't there long enough for me to like recon it, but I don't know if there even are real railroad tracks anymore. But I imagine what used to be the courtyard are now, I don't know, like a whole bunch of railroad cars, just kind of in arrangement there. And then I think each railroad car is a room for like two people, or maybe some of them were cut in half. But me and Haas had the whole railroad car to ourselves, and they had like a bathroom and then like a big bed section. You know how it's like long and skinny? So there's like a big bed section, and then like a big living room section that you have other beds in, and then like a bathroom section. It was kind of neat. It's like all being on a Old West movie set or something, because it was all like, I got a picture of the dog sitting in one of them old timey chairs, and the bed was all old timey, and the bathroom was tiny and old timey. So yeah, it's pretty neat. And then you go up front and eat in the, like whatever the station was, the restaurant up there.
Now, the rooms themselves, were they just decorated with railroad Western type stuff, or did they also have actual antique stuff that might have a placard as to what it was historically, so you understood the significance of the item?
Just like if you watched an old movie, so nothing gaudy, just like, whatever curtains and mirrors and light fixtures and shit that would have been on a train back in the day. So just whatever, you don't even notice, it's just whatever stuff. It's all fancy and ornate, but there's really there's no pictures or anything up because it's a railroad car. It's all windows. So the shades are just down, but if you put the shades up, you would just see into the other railroad car. So it's just a railroad car.
Right. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So anyway, so yeah, we were about to hit the events over here. So on the main page of Gun Channels, we have a preview of the events that are coming up. Anybody who wants to, though, can go over to resources up at the top of any page of Gun Channels, and then down to calendar. You can post a new event there. You can search all the events that have already happened, and there's lots of them. And then all the events that are upcoming, and there's quite a few of those. So, and they don't all get displayed here on this little preview. But that makes me think of something. Since it is Monday, we always end up talking about the calendar being so important, because calendars are handy. Calendars are yearly reminders of stuff, but they're also yearly anchors. They're yearly foundations. They establish longevity on the internet. So when you post something like this, let's say you went around to gun channels back in 2013 when we first started it up in November 2013, and you created an event or two for your local, local gun rights group, and they do like a yearly dinner or something, like most of them do. They get together, maybe they vote or something, they have like a yearly raffle or something, and you posted something about that. Think about that. That's like 4 years later, there's that link out there on a website that gets like 1 million hits a month or something. So it's a valid website that you're helping that site out with. Everybody else is helping that website maybe put it on their Facebook page or something. Maybe they put it on a local forum. Maybe they put it on their Barber's Bulletin Boards webpage or something. So you're helping that site out, and you're establishing links that, unless somebody decides to, aren't going to get deleted. So like I say, you can go back and look at old events that are in there, and each one of those links is going out and helping. Things like the NRA, things, the big giant entities on the internet, they only got that way because lots and lots and lots of people link to them. All right, well, that drove Clover out of here, so I imagine if I'm boring him, I might as well keep going. So we're going to actually talk about the events now. Looks like this next weekend, we've got the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. They have their two, well, I guess they already had their one, so now it's their poker run, annual poker run, second annual. September 9th, now it's too late for Dano, I guess, but Pink Panther, famous Gun Channels member, host of Lobbies, flyer of two places. Have you already talked to Pink? Dano?
If I talked to Pink about what?
About that he's going to fly in, and he was going to find out how much it costs to drive from Rockford to the place where the bullpup shoot is, because he's thinking about flying to Rockford to go to the bullpup shoot. So
really? No, yeah. I hadn't heard that.
So when he told me that, I started looking at a calendar, and like I've already mentioned, I think to everybody's probably boredom, is that I've already paid the deposit and everything. I'm literally just waiting now for them to tell me when they're going to go to print, and I'm hoping that they'll tell me, if they can tell me they'll go to print sometime this week, then I should be able to still make it up and go to the bullpup shoot potentially. So the bullpup shoot is in Illinois. It's in Western Illinois, and then way the hell northwestern Illinois. I didn't have any idea how far northwest it was. I don't know why they do it out there. But anyway, that thing is, I forget how many years. I think it might be 3 years. And there might be some people from Gun Channel showing up. And then, I don't know, they bring up a bunch of bullpups, I guess. What's neat about it is they go to an outdoor range, and the manufacturers there, people that make accessories, the guns themselves, people that distribute them, and you get to pull triggers on them. And then I'm not sure if you can buy them right there or not, but it is an event that anybody can show up to and pull triggers, and you don't have to be media or something like that. But again, hopefully we're talking to a lot of people who have some aspiration to become media, so this might be a good way to cut your teeth. You don't have to go to some place where you have to feel intimidated, although you should never feel intimidated. But anyway, it sounds like an interesting event, and it's like, what, an hour or something from Rockford? I think we were looking. So it is
just a little bit over, not much.
Yeah, but it's still, that's out in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know where else you could come from, like Madison or like St. Louis, maybe. It's not like I don't know, Memphis, where at least you got a couple of different cities you could be coming from.
Yeah, there's the only reason that surprised me is I can't think of at least off the top of my head of flights that come into Rockford other than UPS and returning flights from like Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't seem like a big international airport or nothing.
It's not. I mean, it is an international airport, believe it or not. It's very underused.
Well, probably because of Canada, just like Tucson's international airport. But I did a look just to see how many miles it would be to drive, because I'm drive centric. And when I did it on Google, how normally when you put two destinations in Google and ask it to map it, it'll tell you how far it is to drive, maybe a couple of routes, and then distance and time, and then it'll always tell you like the airplane cost to like compare it to. They didn't give me an airplane cost, so they're like, you're driving.
Yep.
I guess he had to find some little one and go from another town to fly there. But anyway, I'm not sure if it's a yet, but he's thinking about it, so maybe I'll talk to him about that.
Yeah, at least most people that travel out this way have to fly into some other location like Chicago O'Hare and then take a bus or rent a car.
Well, I wonder if they might have a shuttle from O'Hare now that you see something like that. That's it.
Oh, they do. It's called Van Gelder.
No, I mean
it's about $26.
No, I mean the shoot itself. If they have enough people coming in, they might have like a shuttle or something that they provide from O'Hare.
Oh,
that's not unreasonable because that's, you know what I'm saying, that's pretty much the only place people can go. Like you're saying, most people are going to fly to O'Hare and then rent a car probably. But anyway, so that's a lot more about the bullpup shoot than you thought you were going to get. So I forget who actually runs it. Manacart Arms is involved with it for sure in Illinois. Then you get to the 16th. We got Tombstone Territorial Days out here in Arizona. I put that in there because I was hanging out down in Tombstone with the old West gun decks and noticed that they had a lot of monthly things. So I threw them in the calendar. And I don't know, September, it might be cooler down there. But honestly, I think I'd probably wait until October to go down to Tombstone personally. Then you get the Texas Firearms Festival. I leave it here just so that I can talk about it, the fact that because of mismanagement and probably, I don't want to say lack of interest, because I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. Sometimes things can be so successful and just managed wrong, right? So at least poor management is what I've understood it to be, but no longer, you know, it's only going to be a 3-year thing. No, they're not going to do it this 4th year. So we should probably draw a line through it or something at least there. But
by the way, I did just quickly look up. They moved the location of that bullpup shoot. Last year, it was at a different gun range southwest of Chicago. Mount Carroll is nowhere near Chicago, much closer to the Mississippi River.
Yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
And that's like 45 minutes from me. So.
All right. Well, too bad you got no business being there now that you're not in the Daily Gun Show anymore. Even though I got media passes to be there. You could go in and sit at the VIP booth. It's like VIP picnic tables that are all padded and adjustable. And then the kind of coffee where they bring it to you, but they take your order first. And they're like, what kind of cappuccino? And what temperature would you like that cappuccino? So we don't want to burn you or bring it to you too cold. It's one of them kind of media passes.
It's like heaven.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's not talk about things that can't happen. So then we got the cartridge show coming up somewhere in Ohio. I put that in there because I was hoping to have the van running last year, and I really do want to go take a bunch of my ammo to some of these collector shows and wheel and deal for 7.62 by 39 ammo. So again, I've been there, and if anybody ever wants to attend one, let us know what it's like. We got the Trinity site tour in there because the same thing. I really want to attend that. It's the place where the atomic bomb was detonated for the first time, or not the bomb, the atomic device was detonated for the first time. And you're now able to visit that site 2 times a year. This is the October visit. Oh, look, something happened. So now we have Big Sandy. So then we have the machine gun shoots, both in October, the Knob Creek, which is the one out in Kentucky, and then Big Sandy, which is the way better one that's out here in Arizona that's awesome, is on the 20th. And then in between them, you've got the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers, which is very similar to SHOT Show, and I forget where that one, I think that was in Missouri, but you can click on the link if you want to know. Very much like SHOT Show, if you are looking to go to something like SHOT Show and take videos, I highly encourage you to check this out. I'm not sure who runs it, but I think it's one of those hidden gems where you can get tons and tons of content. I suspect it's a smaller show too, so less, you know, people elbowing you out of the way and more interest in talking to you. You know, they're paying to be there. So if they're paying to be there and they're not talking, that means they're paying to do nothing. So if you're standing there in front of them and they're paid to be there, it means they're getting paid to talk to you. So win-win. So that's the calendar stuff. There'll be more stuff coming as the stuff falls off the top. That's the whole point of a calendar. And I'll be putting some of the stuff from the guncalendars.com over there as well. Stay tuned for some of that. I'm not going to fill it up with too many things. That's why we have a website dedicated to it. But a certain amount of, memorial things and whatever, I think will be nice to put into this calendar as well. Anyway, we leave a portion of the show dedicated to that. It's important, oops, I'm selling our secrets again. It's important when we're not, defending something, when we're not in the fight. This is the time we hone our skills. This is the time we practice. This is the time we get better and get, comfortable using our tools. So calendars and these shooting events are ways that we get the Second Amendment and our love for the recreational side of guns out there. and it's important. Damn it, I'm gonna keep talking about it. So what are they talking about on the YouTube side? Just about everything except for what we're talking about. Over here, they're talking about the same thing. It's all about North Korea. Did North Korea do something or something?
Which is a way of giving us a message
What? That they're sick of hearing about ways that we can.
that they're not listening to us.
I suppose so. And we only have 26 viewers. So maybe we'll take the message. Maybe this will be our last week of the show. You better give us some feedback, because if Dano ain't going to be here, it's just me and Bob. And Smeggy's, you know, this is the time of year when Smeggy's doing his work. He's got a lot of pressures, let's say, even though he should be able to deal with the, you know, airflows and relieve those pressures. Somehow he's not good at his job, and those pressures build up. Bob's just drunk all the time, so half time he misses the show. He forgets that it's here. You know, he thinks it's Wednesday when it's Saturday. So let us know. It's going to be a massive struggle, and I'm kidding around to some extent, but I'm going to be on the road. So yeah, let us know if you want to be Dano, or if you want to be part of the show. I guess it's going to change here. I guess we might as well talk about some of that change, since we're talking about events and stuff. I really want to get Hank Strange over here on Gun Channels. I was on his show the other day, and he seems like a good guy. And he's doing a show on the regular every single weekday, and he's doing it at the exact same time we are. So I don't know if I talked to Bob about it. I talked to Smeggy a little bit and talked to Dano briefly, but we're thinking about moving the time on this show. So let us know. Maybe if the 25 people that are watching the show on the regular are getting sick of it, then let us know. We obviously, you know, haven't grown because, you know, how much can we grow with nothing? You know, we can only do what we can do. So I don't want to say nothing, but with very little financial incentive, and there's not a lot of movement, right? There's not a lot of growth. So let us know. Give, you know, our email. You know how to contact us directly. If you've got something that you want to tell Bob or Smeggy or Dano, he's on his way out. They can be your way of getting the information to us in a, you know, roundabout way. But yeah, like you say, to evaluate. All right, so I guess with that, we'll leave it on Bob to save the show with the gun of the day. Is that possible? Can you do it?
Probably not, but it's an interesting gun. It's the Blake bolt-action rifle. Now, this was actually in competition that was ultimately won by the Craig Jorgensen rifle, which had very short service life. This was a really interesting concept. It actually used, I guess you would call them magazines, but these round things held 7 rounds, and you loaded through the bottom of the rifle.
A rotary mag?
Yeah, rotary mag, completely mechanical. So, you know, it didn't have to worry about anything else working on it. It just rotated mechanically to put the next round up. Basically, it was probably just a little too far ahead of its time, maybe. The Army didn't like it because they thought the magazines would be fragile and clumsy to carry. Now, I know it's probably fit in a hand grenade pouch quite well, and usually the guys only had a couple of them anyway, so a couple of magazines. So anyway, other than that, you know, it's a really interesting design. It's a really interesting concept. The way it works is quite interesting. You know, it's cock on open. You know, much like the Lee Enfield. So yeah, it's kind of neat. I don't know why it didn't really take off. Maybe
what caliber is that?
Well, it came in some of its own calibers, but it also came in once it was sold as a hunting rifle. It came in 30-30. It came in, I think, a 45 proprietary. The caliber it did the tests in was the same as that 30-40. It was just rimless. 30-40 or whatever it was.
Some of the pictures we're looking at, the projectiles look like they're pretty heavy. A lot of lead. Well, the 30-40 Craig did shoot a big bullet. Now this thing it was black powder or smokeless. It was, you know, stressed to take smokeless. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was an interesting idea. I think it was maybe a little too complex for military service.
apparently the magazines or pods or whatever you want to call them were a little finicky to get in. So yeah, I can see why it didn't maybe win the contract, but it's quite impressive that it actually was from just a small American designer, gun designer, is own design, own ideas. So yeah, it's interesting. They probably a couple of thousand were sold as sporting rifles, and then of course some made for the trials. They were also in the Navy trials. So it was tried by a couple of services. Neither one of them accepted it. So you got to take that with look at what they did.
Has anybody ever taken like this, right? The magazine or the clip or whatever it is, and then weighed it with the ammo, and then weighed it without the ammo, and then got that ratio or whatever, and then done the same thing with like a box magazine or with an M-DOM clip? Because if this thing, imagine, is competing with an M-DOM clip, they're like, all of this complexity and metal and time and something to break and all of that compared to basically a U shape. This is ridiculously too complex compared to a U-shaped piece of metal, right?
Well, yeah, but it was all tin. It wasn't expensive. I mean,
so it can break and it's malleable. I mean, you can't win, because it's either well made and it costs too much, or else it's shitty made and it doesn't work well. I mean, there's always that balance, right? Where with like an M-DOM, it was small, so they could make it really well. So even though it was simple, it wasn't real big, so they could put time and effort into it. Where something like this, they're going to have to cut corners, and then that's going to kill its performance.
Yeah, like I say, it was probably too complex for the military service. But I mean, if you look at it, because it doesn't have any springs or anything, in some ways it's simpler and less likely to fail than a box magazine. Because it is one piece.
Conventionally, there's
no springs, no sliders, anything like that.
No, it's very similar conventionally to the Ruger rotary magazine that's used today.
Yeah.
Well, but it's more like a revolver in the respect that the bolt action is revolving it.
Yep.
Yes.
So then, unlike what Bob just said, so yeah, a box magazine has a spring and a follower that can get jammed if there's dirt between the follower and the mag, which I guess happens. But this thing has like ultimate fail points all over the place. Just because there's not a spring in it, it's still required to rotate on an axis. So all these pins have to be true. All the other rounds have to stay in place. So every single lip is always important. And that just seems like way too much variables.
We also don't know the tolerances that were built within it, as far as, was it a very tight tolerance fit sort of thing, or was it very loose that it could take some minimal interference and still?
Yeah. What I can say is it was a very well built gun. It had very good safety features built into it. The workmanship on them was really good. So, and they sold anywhere when they sold privately, which would have been probably in the 1910, 1912 or whatever. They sold for $50 for a plain one and $100 for a super fancy one, like a really nice, Model 3 type engraved rifle, right? So, you look at the pricing and go, yeah, for a military service rifle, because most of them in those days probably were around 10 or 12 bucks. Yeah, it's probably expensive, but man, you can't say I don't see how it didn't work. It was apparently that it was reliable. It just, they were worried it wouldn't be, but it was reliable.
So they made less than 300 of them.
Huh. 300, a couple thousand, same thing.
All right, well, so that's another gun, and
that's our gun of the day. Yeah. Like it or lump it. That's the one I picked.
all right, so let's see. Well, we talked about that is PTSD Day on Saturday. And look at gun history today. 1941, the German U-boat U-570 was captured by the British and renamed the Graf. Today, in 1968, there was a clash between anti-war demonstrators during the Democratic National Party's convention in Chicago.
Riot, riot, riot.
This is a boring part of the show, so maybe I'll start doing this before the show or something, highlighting it. All right, so looking through, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. None of it was good. So sorry for wasting time here. Why don't we keep moving? So was there anything else? Did you have the social thing? We did the week. Talked about all the commercials. We did a gun shop. We didn't do a movie. Anybody see any good movies over the weekend? You know what? I listened to a book on tape. Let's talk about books on tape. I haven't done that in a while. So, Bob, you ever listen to Robert Heinlein? Or read him, I guess? You're on mute if you're saying something. So I don't know if anybody's read Robert Heinlein.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was looking at the other page. Yeah, no, I do read them. I don't listen to books on tape, but yeah, I've probably read quite a bit of his stuff. Yeah. What?
I was talking about, we had a chat the other day about when robots take over and what it'll be like, and you know what to do and that kind of thing. And then I think it was Cycle Camp suggested this one called "The Moon is a Harsh Mistress," which is one of his books. So I'm reading the book, and I got about halfway through, and I was thinking, this is like an 8-hour book, because I think it was unabridged, but it was an 8-hour audio book, and I'm thinking, I better leave this one for the road. Like this is a good book. I want to, like I can tell already, I want to enjoy this one. So I'm going to wait and listen to this one when I'm driving, right, when I'm in the van. Yeah. So we put it aside. And I had listened, I thought, to about a quarter of it. I think I might have listened to more than a third. So, you know, a chunk of the book. Enough to know the characters and what was going on and that I was going to like it. So then I'm minding my business, listening to other books and doing other things. And then I got bored and I was sick of listening to some other stuff. So I went to find another Heinlein book, and I didn't want to read that same one for those reasons I just said. So I had started a different one, and it was okay. It wasn't that great. So I figured I was working on that calendar website. Like I said, I've been trying to keep my mind off of not knowing when I can get out and continue this next leg of the tour or whatever. So, you know, I've been occupying the time listening to this other book. Anyway, about 3/4 of the way through this other book, they start mentioning characters from the book I was telling you that I stopped listening to. Mm-hmm. So that intrigued me. And when I finished the second book, I went back and listened to the first book. So but today we're going to talk about specifically Earth is a Harsh Mistress, which was an interesting book, the one that Cycle Camp recommended and why. But then also the concept that Heinlein was, let's see, he got out of the Navy. He was career Navy. He left for tuberculosis. So they made him retire, in other words. So he was out, not, you know, because he was done, but because they made him. So he was looking for something to do. He did a couple of different jobs, and he decided to write. And he started writing, and then eventually got hooked up with this publisher in the 50s who was writing books for kids, like high school kids. And he wrote a series for them. And I don't know if it was an agreed upon thing, like a number, or if it was just successful and he kept doing it. You know, they just, you know, had a good arrangement and kept going. But anyway, I knew kind of that concept. And this book, Moon is a Harsh Mistress, is one of them. And the other book I listened to was one of the other ones. So I guess that's why some of the characters are shared, because they're kind of in the same universe, or whatever you want to say. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. And last night I didn't want to start a whole new book or anything, but I was just interested. And then, so I started to look around a little bit more about Heinlein himself, and wondered why Starship Troopers wasn't one of the youth books like the rest of these. Because it's not, you know, it's way more violent and stuff. And it turns out that that's the one that cut his relationship with that company. He submitted it as a youth one, and they were like, hell no, this is way too violent. You got to make it, you got to pussify it. And he said, nope. And then they said, well, then you can't write for us. And he's like, good. So then he started writing for somebody else. So, and which everybody says good because that's a super good book. He wrote it in response to all the hippies and stuff at the time, being a bunch of hippies. And he was a Navy officer, so he was all about military and stuff. So it was controversial at the time because it was basically perceived as a slight against socialism and communism. Anyhow, so I think it was an interesting book. And if you have a chance, I can pretty much recommend all of them. There's a couple that suck a little bit, but for the most part, even the ones that are written for kids are just fast reads. They're like watching an action movie, exactly. And they're interesting, and they've all got little twists to them and stuff. So I think they're great if you're working out in the shop, or like I'm doing, working on the computer, and this kind of things, where you got to wait for something to render or wait for something to fiddle with, or you're working intensely for a minute and then you come out and you have to wait for something. I really like audiobooks for that because they don't distract you. And Heinlein is a great option, I guess, for a couple of reasons. Like, say, it's good writing and everything, but he's also, beyond just being like an interesting adventure or book, he touches on some really interesting, what would you say, like just subjects, like core subjects, religion.
And he makes moral points without making you think that he's making moral points.
Without preaching at you, he just brings them up, and then you, at the end, you're like, oh, I never thought about it that way, or that's an interesting way to look at it. And yeah, so without being like annoying, basically, he's got like a couple of layers to it. So I think that's probably, everybody says that's why the kids liked his book so much, because he didn't write down to anybody. He just basically was very technical, and that's the unique part about him versus some of the other writers. He didn't just come up with some bullshit like, oh, then there's the blah blah hyperdrive. Like, he usually comes up with some decent science for everything. I think he's pretty respected for coming up with real science for stuff and explaining it well. So
again, there was a whole group in the 50s of people like that, just intelligent, and they were writing and they were creating stuff, and it was a really different creative. People don't think of it that way, but it was a very creative and innovative, and people were, because this is where the hippies and everything came from, was, like we saw this happening, we saw this, the world changing in this strange way.
Doc, excuse me. Is this the Daily Gun Show?
Yeah, we are talking about audiobooks from Robert Heinlein as our movie of the day today.
I thought I stepped into the wrong room.
Nope. So I think you're right, Bob. I was listening to what the hell? I guess probably live TV on YouTube from probably right before the guys jumped out of Apollo and walked on the moon, and they had whoever news channel it was with Arthur C. Clarke and Heinlein. And Heinlein had written a movie called Destination Moon, which is awesome. And I guess that's the other thing I didn't get a chance to finish before. One thing is he writes really good science fiction. The other thing is it's all free on YouTube. So just go to YouTube, type in Robert Heinlein, and then you get pretty much all his whole library for nothing. I don't know if it's because he's dead or if it's all just, it's too old or whatever, but it's all the audiobooks are just there. You can either listen to them right on YouTube or get one of these extensions or apps for your browser, which will pull the audio portion of a YouTube video onto your computer as an MP3 file. And then you can just play it on any device, your phone, your computer, any MP3 player. It'll just become like a fairly medium-sized audio file that's 8 hours long or whatever, and it's just this audio tape. So the movie is available on YouTube also. So I watched the movie over the weekend, and it's an awesome, awesome movie for being made in 1950, way before they ever landed on anything. And it's surprisingly accurate in some ways, and then totally 50s, like Alien, it's almost like a Bugs Bunny rocket ship. It's like, just because they hadn't done anything yet, it was still really science fiction.
Yeah, they knew the theory. Yeah, they had the theory of it. but they hadn't actually built any hardware yet, but they knew the theory. So you just had to work it out yourself.
So Heinlein, I guess, the more I read about him and learn about him, he was a weird guy. He was a Democrat for a long, long time, got disheartened, and then went libertarian, which seems like a lot of people do, right? You work real hard for something, you get discouraged, and you find out that you waste all that time, and you work twice as hard because you wasted all that time, I guess. So that seems like a course people take sometimes. So anyway, it was kind of neat looking at some of these old interviews with the guy, and then listening to a couple of YouTube videos that were like, I guess, like almost like TED Talks, except, little versions of that from, I don't know what schools or something maybe that were on there. Just anyway, describing like people doing almost book reports on some of his stuff. And I'm kind of dense, so I'll listen to a book, and unless like I recognize the name of a character or something, I don't necessarily understand all the significance of it all. So listening to some of those kind of review, but more than just a review, but more like interpretations or whatever, or like deciphering the books, some of those are actually kind of interesting too. So I think that's something extra you get out. I mean, we'd hear about it from movies, like when Matt has his nerd geek chat. That'll be tonight, I guess. We all sit around talking about movies. That's like amateur level. These guys who are reading science fiction at like the top level are deciphering it at like the top level. It's not snarky like Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's like motivational and inspiring, really. It's like they really dig into like the, those issues that, like Bob was saying, you don't even realize you're not getting preached to, but you're getting, they're addressing some really major stuff in some of these books. So anyway, I think that's the second level of fun you get from the book. You listen to the book, you understand it, it's an interesting adventure, but then you go listen to like how it fits into history and why he made that book. He put down Stranger in a Strange Land to write Starship Troopers in like weeks. Like, it's amazing. It's such an awesome book, and when the book is nothing like the movie, but the book is so awesome, and he wrote it like in no time because he was like upset about something that happened, and he wanted to address it, and the way he could do that was through the novel. It's interesting too, by just doing a little bit of research there. I knew the book, I like the movie. Everybody likes the movie, or most people like the movie because it's just an interesting adventure movie. But the book is like a totally different thing, and it's just totally not the movie at all. And I found out from doing a little bit of research this weekend that the guy who made the movie was a total prick. He made the movie intentionally to call Heinlein a fascist. Like, he was not a fan of Heinlein. Like, he wanted to amplify, he did amplify like the whole interpretation of Starship Troopers as a fascist fucking book.
You fight for your citizenship, all that.
Yeah, Heinlein wrote it as like, be careful of socialism, but a lot of the socialists read it as, oh, this is an advocacy for fascism. And that's how the movie was made, is like, as if the book was pro-fascism. So it's interesting, and hopefully it doesn't get tied up in all this Antifa bullshit now, because it's such an awesome book and movie. But I thought that was interesting. And it's like I say, it sucks that it's a good movie. I wish it would have just been a failure as a movie almost, just so that they would leave the book alone. But people see the movie and think it's kind of cheesy and go, the book must suck, or the book was written about the movie or something, and they don't.
Yeah, that's where I think it does its most damage, is people see the movie and go, that's kind of cheesy. That must have been a terrible story it was based on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like so opposite. It's just, there's no way to describe how cool of a book that is.
Yeah, the only reason the movie's any good is because they took some of his great ideas about what was happening, right? They took his great sci-fi ideas, but then they just kind of twisted the message around.
And they amplified the fascist stuff up to like 12, where it was like barely a theme in the book. Like, they amplified it as if that was the book.
Yeah.
So that's annoying. So all of this was prelude to this this audio book that I listened to this weekend called Moon is a Harsh Mistress. So again, it's available free on the internet, on YouTube. You can either just listen to it on YouTube. Just whenever you're listening to any audio book, search for it, and if there's 3 options, go open up 3 options, because some people put in like a commercial every 2 minutes, and some people put in like 5 commercials over the length of the book, and some people don't put any commercials. So do yourself a favor and find out if there's one with few or no commercials if you're going to listen to it on YouTube. Or, like I say, download one of these apps that you put into your browser, an extension or whatever your browser calls it. Wherever your browser is, there's going to be some way you can enhance your browser with third-party apps. Go to wherever that is, and like whatever store or app, whatever it is, and then look for one that lets you pull MP3 files off of videos. And since tons of people do that for lots and lots of reasons, there's tons of those apps, and they're very tiny, and they all pretty much work pretty good. And they'll just, like I say, take the YouTube video and turn it into an MP3 file on your computer. And there's no video, it doesn't download the ads or anything. So anyway, Moon is a Harsh Mistress. We started talking about computers going sentient or whatever, because tomorrow, the 29th of August, is in 1997. So what, 20 years ago today is when Skynet self-aware. So obviously it's an important subject, and Hosh is convinced that it can't happen.
Well, it can happen. Here's the thing. For all we know, that actually happened, and Skynet just sat back and went, "Wait a minute,
Give me a minute.
Not ready yet. It's not time yet. I don't have enough robotic killing." Right?
Yeah, it needs enough robot arms to make robot killers and Terminators.
And yet, what are we working on so hard? Self-driving cars, self-flying airplanes. You know,
what's Smeggy doing right now? Is he on the Daily Gun Show, or is he helping to propagate the robots?
Maybe, yeah.
Working for
Smeggy's, one of them.
Well, he works for him.
Anyway, I haven't seen him.
I've seen him walk next to my dog. My dog didn't bark at him, so I'm sure he's not a Terminator. But
Right.
anyway, we are talking about the concept of robots going, self-aware, and then the consequences. And we're having a discussion. Hosh comes along and is convinced that it can't happen.
That's wrong.
Program the robots to overtake us. They can't overtake us. Well, that's what this book is about. It's about a future in which people have colonized the moon, and they populate the moon. And, in that future, I think it's 2070 or something. It's far off future. We've got large computers, and a large computer with a lot of extra, networking, I guess. This was written a long time ago, so we didn't quite know about everything we got now. But, a combined computer of accumulated computers basically becomes sentient or self-aware, and then starts, you become self-aware. This one guy figures it out, and then an adventure happens. So I'm not going to spoil the book, but that's basically where I got the suggestion to listen to this one, and it turns out that Earth is a Harsh Mistress is supposed to be one of Heinlein's best books, because it's such a exploration of libertarianism and the whole idea of independence. And I was listening to it as a book about a computer that goes self-aware, but that's because I'm worried about that, because it's tomorrow, right? But when they wrote this book, and the reason the book was written, I guess everybody was more worried about the concept of libertarianism, and him shouting about libertarianism at the time, I guess. So anyway, I'm going to recommend that book. It doesn't quite keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. There is quite a bit of jibber jabber where you're just listening to, thoughts and concepts and stuff, but it is pretty interesting, and it is good science fiction, and it is about a robot that
All right. And that's a recommendation. I will definitely second. Anything written by him is worth reading, truly.
Are they saying it's 20 years ago that Sgt. Pepper? That's not true.
So, yeah. So
That's just a line in the song.
No, I mean, not an anniversary of that. That's way more than 20 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our movie of the day. Normally it's a movie, but like I say, I've been listening to some books on tape, so I'm going to throw that one in there today. With that, I think we've worn out our welcome and run a full 90. So it is Monday. That means Matt will be doing his geeky nerd show later. We'll talk about their wizards and swords and whatnot, and then some kind of top 5 list. After that, or in the midst of that, Hawaii Volcano Squad will usually start his show. I'm not sure what his topics are tonight, if he has posted them or not. Typically prepping, survival type related stuff. He's out in Hawaii, and he brings people in from sometimes internationally. Definitely a bunch of people in usually. So that's an interesting show. We like shooting. I think they still might post their show over here. I'm not sure if they do, but they did for a while, so we still talk about them. They're another show on Mondays. Otherwise, tomorrow is Tuesday, so that means Good Morning Gun Channels will be on. It's a long format show that runs from morning if you're on the West Coast, and mid-morning, afternoon if you're on the East Coast, and it'll run all the way up until this show starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. And again, we're looking for some feedback. I'm kind of searching through the comments here. A lot of comments from Cycle Camp. We'll have to do a science fiction chat sometime if you feel up to it, because I'm all inspired after watching some interviews and hearing people talk about Heinlein all day yesterday while I was working. Yeah, I'd like to do something like that if you got the time. Otherwise, I'm looking to see. We asked for some suggestions for or some insight, I guess, about if we should keep doing the show, and if we do, time frames, time slots. You know, one of the reasons we haven't grown viewer-wise might be because we're on at a bad time. If y'all are eating dinner or whatever, it's a bad time. Maybe it's time to move the time slot. So give us some feedback on that. We would appreciate it. Give us some feedback in general. Let us know that we're loved out there. Otherwise, you know, I'm going to be on the road. Bob's got drinking to do. Smiggy's got rabbits. So I think with that, we can wrap it up, and we will see you back here tomorrow, as we mentioned, with episode 380. Oh, so you know what we didn't do? 387, Second Amendment issues, Utah as a state of the state. You know what we didn't do? I feel like a bad nerd. We didn't even address the 386 today. We talked about it on Friday.
Oh my God, who cares? 486 is way better.
Whatever. So 386 was an Intel processor, and from what I remember, that was the Windows processor, right? So before that, you were dealing with DOS prompts and weird-ass interfaces, and then
Yes, there was an 86. Yes, there was a 286. And yes, there was a 386.
You're saying there was a 186 at 2, or there was an 86?
There was an 86, okay? Then it went to a 286, then a 386, then a 486, and then that's when they started with the names Pentium.
Right, but 386 was a big one, right? 286 was like a blue screen computer with words on it, you know, text interface. And then 386 was Windows 3.1, right?
I'm going to say I'm probably wrong, but if I remember, it did something like it significantly increased the ability to time slice, but I'm probably wrong.
You mean technically in there?
Yes.
Yeah. I just am trying to go off of what I wasn't a nerd opening them up back then. I mean, I was aware that that could be done, but anyway, I was a kid, so I didn't have that kind of money to be able to take somebody else's computer apart. So I'm trying to just put it into perspective for the youngins and for all us old people that can't remember nothing anymore. But that's basically when 3.1, the GUI interface, mices and whatnot, that's that era. And they still look like big beige freaking boxes with huge monitors and goofy looking mice and big keyboards. A little bit before people started hot rodding them, right? I mean, you could do a little bit of hot rod into a 386, but there wasn't much room to play with there. It wasn't.
We used to add RAM. That was about it.
Right, or maybe like a video card, but there was just, you know, those machines weren't like modular. And then once you got to Pentiums, I think they were building them for so many people that they started to make them more open. You know, they were,
plug a video card in, plug a sound card in.
Yeah, and then there was more like ability to be modular, and then then you could start to hot rod a little bit. So 386 was just at least for us, it was a little bit before. And then when we worked at AOL, we were really into hot rod and old machines, and 386s were just a little bit earlier than it was worth even. There was just nothing to hot rod. You know, you could put one back together. That was about it. You couldn't make it do anything good.
Yep.
Cycle Camp is saying a 286 could run Windows 2.
Yeah, that was there was actually a real Windows 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. 3.1 is where it launched in outer space as far as general acceptability.
And it went, yeah, pretty much that's when the computers basically could do something impressive, and then it was stuff on them. Anyway, a little blast from the past, and this was basically a nerd show, so you can blame Matt for that. So that's what happens on Mondays. And hopefully we're getting people in here, like I say, that are into content creation. So you've been on a computer for a little while. All right, with all that, thanks everybody. Sorry to hear bad news. Obviously, we're going to be missed, but you're leaving with good, whatever that word would be. What the hell would the word be? It's not intentions.
Good feelings? I don't know.
Yes, yeah. But hopefully you'll stick around, not pull a Z and just never show up again. But
I will still be here as often as I am now.
is this some kind of scam so that you can start winning the daily pop quizzes? Because you're going to leave us with like a bunch of quote unquote questions or something? This
Oh
how he's,
my God, he is Disney.
this how he's going to cash in. He's just going to remember all the old questions and be like, why don't you guys just keep repeating the old ones? Let's just see what happens.
You never know.
All right. Well, Dano, we'll be sorry to see you go at the end of the week. But anyway, let's wrap this puppy up. It's running late. All right. Before that, though, I just want to thank everybody for watching, listening, and also remind you, please share, subscribe, same thing. Subscribe, thumbs up. That's it. This one is by Theodore Roosevelt. Everybody has noticed by now, I do like his quotes. He made a lot of them. I don't pity any man who does hard work worth doing. I admire him. I pity the creature who does not work, at whichever end of the social scale he may regard himself as being. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll see you all tomorrow.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.